afya. Tangu tulipoagana siku ya jana, natumai kwamba Mungu amekulinda, amekuwa nawe katika kila jambo ulichokuwa unakifanya. Jina langu ni MUTHONI MK na kualika rasmi hapa katika Mwangaza Asubuhi, leo ikiwa ni Family Thursday. Siku ambayo tunaangazia masuala mengi ambayo yanahusiana na familia, tunakuelimisha na pia tunakujuza mengi ambayo pia huko unayajua hapa katika Mwangaza Asubuhi. Baba, katika jina la Yesu tunakuja mbele zako asubuhi ya leo. Tunasema ni asante, tunakushukuru, tunakuinua kwa maana sio kwa uwezo wetu ya kuwa tuko hapa asubuhi ya leo, bali ni kwa uwezo wako, ni kwa huruma zako ya kwamba tuko hapa siku ya leo. Bwana, tunapoanza hiki kipindi Jehova, tunaomba ukaweze kuwa wewe ndio mwanzo wetu, wewe ndio hata tamatisho letu tutakapotamatisha hiki kipindi Jehova. Katika kila jambo litakalotendeka, tunaomba likaweze kutendeka kulingana na mapenzi yako, na tutasahau mwishowe kusema ni asante na kulishukuru jina lako, na ni katika jina la Yesu tumeomba na kuamini. Amen and amen and amen. Karibu tena sana mtazamaji hapa katika Mwangaza Asubuhi. Kama nilivyosema hapo awali, leo ni Family Thursday. Jina langu ni MUTHONI MK na nipo hapa tukaweze kuelimisha mengi ambayo pia wewe pale nyumbani you've insisted that you want to know about. Na leo ndani ya nyumba tuko naye WINNIE ambaye ni a disability inclusion advocate. Atakuwa akitueleza pia hilo linamaanisha nini ndani ya nyumba. Tuko naye leo tukaweze kuzungumzia mengi ambayo yanahusiana na spreading the gospel to people with disabilities. A lot of people had been asking about this and we decided why not. Unajua hapa katika Mwangaza Asubuhi we listen to what you people want and we get experts ambao wanaweza kutufunza mengi kuhusiana na hayo masuala ambayo wewe pale nyumbani ama wewe ukiwa pale kazini ama mahali popote ulipo unataka kuyajua. Kwa hivyo usisahau kutuma ujumbe wako ama pia swali lolote ambalo unalo pale kwenye SMS line yetu ambayo ni 22914, pale kwenye Facebook page yetu ni Mwangaza TV Kenya, na pia kwenye YouTube ni Mwangaza TV Kenya. We will streaming live tukiwa naye WINNIE ndani ya nyumba. Karibu sana. Pengine mueleze mtazamaji wewe ni nani na unafanya kazi hivi.
Asante tena. Kwa majina naitwa WINNIE ADOYO. Mimi ni nafanya kazi na Inclusion Champion Society, ambayo pia ni kikundi ambayo mimi ni mwanzilishi. Na the main thing ile tunafanya kwa Inclusion Champions ni kama vile jina inasema, tuna champion for inclusion of people with disability. Na hii inclusion, it's not restricted to any specific sphere of our life, but then ni watu walio na ulemavu wanatakikana tuwajumulishe kwenye familia, kwa makanisa, kwa kazi zetu, na kila mahali kwa society. So that is the work we do. Na tunajua kuna a lot of things when it comes to inclusion, but then our mantra is on the starfish story, where we know sometimes the need inaweza kuwa ni kubwa sana, but tunataka kuimpact to just that one life yenye utakuwa umeimpact. That is what we count on. And I'm very happy to be invited here today.
You're most welcome. Pengine you've told us that it's something you started. Pengine when did you start it?
I started in 2020, but the vision started years back nikiwa mtoto mdogo, kwa sababu nilipata kulelewa na mama aliye na ulemavu. Sasa katika hiyo harakati ya kukua pia nikapata ku experience first hand changamoto ya kuwa na mtu aliye na ulemavu kwa hii society yetu. Kwa sababu ule alikuwa chunga alikuwa mama ako na deaf, na mali tulikuwa tunakaa kuna misunderstanding nyingi nilipata ku experience. So that is where the vision started in my heart to at least nifanye kitu kidogo to make people aware na to make a better society for persons with disability.
And today we're speaking about spreading the gospel to people with disability. Why do you think it is important?
This is a very important topic because vile tunaelewa ni kuwa when it comes to the gospel, we say it is a good news, but then it cannot be good news until it is good news to also the deaf and the blind and the people with physical disability. Because most of the time to realize that our society vile tunaweza kuwa tuna perceive persons with disability na vile God anawaona saa ingine sio the same, kwa sababu what we know ni kuwa ikikuja kwa our spiritual life, then Mungu anaangalia our soul. Sasa hiyo soul, whether your physical body iko na disability ama it doesn't have, kila moja wetu anatakana afikiwe na injili. So hiyo ndio maana kwa ICS tuko very keen, kwa sababu tunajua Mungu anahitaji soul ya kila mtu wapate kusikia word na tupate kuokoka. Yeah.
And pengine, I may ask this, do you think churches, like especially right now, do you think they recognize people with disabilities, like how they're supposed to recognize them? Ama there are some people who don't recognize them and there are others who recognize them?
I first of all want to applaud a few churches who are already trying to make efforts, who are intentional about including people with disability, because of course I know inclusion of persons with disability comes at a cost, and which is one of the major reasons why some people sometimes they shy off or they just want to draw back and forget about the people with disability. But then there are these specific churches who maybe in one way or the other have come up with a ministry that is specifically focusing on persons with disability. And some of the churches have at least gone ahead to employ somebody, maybe a sign language interpreter, so that the deaf can follow through their services. Some of the churches have gone ahead to even modify their physical spaces, so that if you have physical disability, then you're able to access these spaces. So I feel there are churches who are already making attempt in that space, which is very commendable, but a majority are still really just, this is kind of a foreign concept. They do everything else that a church does except being intentional about reaching to the persons with disability. And so I feel there's still a lot of work, because in these same churches, sometimes you even find religious leaders or their pastors who, when a person with disability comes with a need, maybe I have a need, like I could have a need as a person, I go to meet somebody who is spiritually more mature just to guide me and help me. But so then they will just take me through the whole process, getting to know where my issue is. But then if you walk into the same person with a disability, then they're going to focus on thinking like, maybe we need to pray for you to be healed of this disability and stuff. But then most of the time, these persons, they just have spiritual needs just like any of us. Sometimes I just need somebody to stand with me in prayer. I just need somebody to pray for me over an issue, a sin I'm struggling with, because they experience everything else that we experience, except that they might have some physical disability. And
you told us how we view people with disability and how God views people with disability is totally different. So can you explain to us, what is the biblical view towards people with disabilities?
Thank you. I think partly I've kind of responded, because for us, you know, when God made us in his image, it doesn't mean that somebody who has a disability then is not in his image. And as I mentioned, God is very interested in our souls. At the end of the day, God wants to have a relationship with each and every one of us. And that is why we believe that when it comes to the final judgment day, then we will not be looked upon depending on your disability or you are not having a disability. So, and then again, we know God loves all of us just the same way. When you look at the Bible, we find a couple of stories where how God and Jesus engaged with different persons with disability. And so that simply shows us that he is very intentional and keen on each and every one of us, because to him, he just looks at our soul. And so that is why we feel it's very urgent for us to get intentional and to try and package the information or the gospel in a way that can reach the people with disability.
Wow, thank you. And I might ask this also, do you think there are cultural beliefs that might be forcing these people who have disabilities to not attend churches?
Cultural beliefs could be there, but again, it could be just how the society has treated them before. For instance, if you identify a place or a church that you do want to be part of, but then you go there and somehow you're not able to fit in because of how they look at you, how they treat you, how they engage with you. With a lot of people are a bit careful and drawing back. So you clearly can see that maybe I'm not really welcome here. I don't really feel like I belong. So in that case, the persons with disability find it really hard to fit. So the cultural beliefs might be there, but I think this one sometimes would apply to maybe the caregivers or the parents of these people who, for one reason or the other, might have experienced situations or circumstances where people are telling them, like, probably your child has a disability because you did 1, 2, 3 things, which sometimes it's not really the case. And when you hear a lot of these messages, then it is possible for somebody to just feel like, I might not be very keen to engage more. I want to just have my own space. And that will make them even avoid including churches and public or social places.
Wow, that's really nice. And now you've told us that one of the steps that will help the church embrace these people who have disabilities is like employing maybe sign language interpreters, that is for the deaf, and maybe other things. So can you explain to us maybe other steps that the church can take so that they can even reach out to those people now, those people with disabilities who are feeling like kind of lost, they don't even want to come to church. So how is the church going to reach out to those people?
Okay, thank you. I think the first step is before you even reach out is the preparation that goes into reaching out to them. Because number one, if you do not understand the persons with disability, then in the process of trying to reach out to them, you might even end up hurting them more. So I think the first and most important thing is to get to understand, to be intentional about being aware and understanding specifically these persons with albinism, what is their greatest need? The persons with physical disability, what is their greatest need, and how best can we reach out to them? What are some of the do's and don'ts? Because the disability community, it's a whole community. They have things that they feel this is a don't, this is a do. Just like in our different cultures. If I come from a different culture and to come to our place, there are things that have been laid down. Sometimes they're not even written, but the expectations that are known to us. When you're engaging with me, when you're engaging with the males and the female, when you're a girl, when you're this age, those things, they're there, and we know you need to follow them. The same case applies to the persons with disability. When you're going into their spaces, then it's very critical that you at least understand the basics, the basic etiquette. If somebody is having a crutch or a wheelchair, how far should I go touching them? Because some people believe this wheelchair is part of their body. So if you just come touching and trying to help without asking for permission, already you'll be offending this person. And you're doing it out of such a good heart. So I feel like maybe the first step that the churches should do is to be very intentional about having their leadership or people in authority to be able to have a better understanding, a better picture of who really the persons with disability are. And then thereafter, they can now start planning on how then can we engage and reach out to them in a way that is going to be more impactful. And of course, there are easier ways to start from it. There are things that would need you maybe to modify your physical spaces. That might be really financially engaging. But there are things like just inviting ICS to come to your church and do a Disability Awareness Sunday, just to help you guys, the whole church, to have a basic understanding. There's a way even a church can organize for just a training for church workers and pastors to help them have a better understanding and clearer picture of persons with disability and how best to reach out to them. That is part of the things that ICS, we are very happy to partner with churches to do. So that once you're there, then you will figure out from after the trainings, then you can know, okay, do we need to have a ministry here that is specifically focusing on persons with disability, or then do we need to just create a way that every ministry that we're having amongst us is going to be kind of disability friendly and welcoming for the persons with disability? And then how then do we go out there for those who have not been reached so that they can be able to come and be part of us?
Wow. And what about now? We have parents, we find them, yes, they are Christians, they go to church, they have children with disabilities, but they tend to leave their children behind because they don't want, maybe they are wondering about what the people are going to say about their kids. So what do we do to these parents now?
So thank you. Once again, a family unit is also a space that we at ICS we're very keen on, because we know when inclusion is right at the family, then this person is going to get out there and they'll be able to just interact better with the entire society. So for the family specifically, I know even those parents, when you engage with them closely, you'll realize that some of them, it is also out of the many experiences that they've been through that it reach a point they feel like they are not really strong enough to continue having all the insults, all the discrimination. So that's why they feel like it's better I leave this child at home. Or sometimes you even find that it's a child who has physically really grown big, and sometimes this family doesn't have a proper means of transport where they can be able to carry this child. And they know when they try to use public means, most of the time, the public means, guys, they're not really patient enough, because they're looking at how much time am I going to take to have this person plus their child get into the car. So they'll take a long time because nobody's willing to go that extra mile. So I feel for these families as well, it is also very important for the churches, if they're able to create specifically forums that can be able to reach out to these people. But again, at ICS, we already have support groups for both women and men separately, where if you are a parent or you're a caregiver of a child with disability, then whichever area you are in, we can be able to connect you so that you can engage with other parents, so you can share. Because sometimes you find that whatever I'm struggling with, another parent has gone through it, and they have few tricks that they can help you with, so that you know, okay, in case this happens, what am I supposed to do? Another parent is even still wondering, a child is 10 years old, they have not figured out where do I take them to school. They can't fit. I have no idea where these people go to school. But there's another parent who has gone through education assessment at KISE, they have gone through placement, and they have an idea they can share. So I feel also support groups are very key for the parents and families who have anybody with disability.
And I have someone asking over here, do churches, like when you find churches providing maybe essential items to like schools where we have people with disabilities and maybe other facilities, is that still part of spreading the gospel to them?
Just say that again.
When you find churches, maybe they have charity foundations, maybe sometimes they go to schools where we have people with disabilities or other facilities, and maybe they give them essential items that they need. Is that still part of spreading the gospel to them?
Okay. I would say yes and no. Because, I mean, what is the motive of giving these items to maybe support their education? Definitely it's a good thing to support education, because again, the education for persons with disability is expensive. Because can you imagine when I can go out there and buy a pen at maybe 20 shillings or 50 bob at most, but then there's somebody who is using braille, and just the pad for writing alone, that piece of paper, it goes for over 1,000. So it is quite expensive. So if somebody is thinking of supporting maybe towards education and something, definitely that is something really good. But again, when you look at the gospel, other than the giving, are you also sharing the word? Because at the end of the day, these people need to know that God hates sin. And even if you have a disability, you need to surrender your soul to Christ, and you need to be born again, and you need to live a righteous life. Because as much as you're providing these things, I hope and I wish that you could provide everything else you're able to provide, but again, also make the word accessible. Put more effort in trying to make the words accessible. If it's a visually impaired, maybe a school for the blind, then you're going to give them all the equipment they need. But are you also going to figure out how can we get the gospel packaged in more accessible formats? Because right now, you know, we have the audio. You can have audio Bible. What does it mean if we as a church, we would consider something like, as much as we're giving all these things, can we also get the gospel intentionally reaching out to these people? We are going to get them the gadgets so that somebody can listen to the gospel. We are going to just get them the materials so that they can have these words printed and read for themselves, all those stuff. So I'm thinking that the churches who are considering something like that, it is really good. But I wish you could also be more intentional and very specific on having the gospel reach out to these same people you are reaching out to and supporting.
Wow. And now what about these Christians who fear to interact with those people with disabilities? Because you'll find maybe the church is willing to help, maybe the clergy and those people who are in charge, or the leaders we have in church. But now we have the Christians who are there, the believers who come to that church. So how do we help them overcome that fear of interacting with people with disabilities?
All right. Thank you for that. I think also, again, that is kind of, as much as we see, it might not be a very good thing, but at the same time, you also want to understand where these people are coming from. Because some of these people have never really interacted or engaged very closely with persons with disability. So there are all these myths and theories in their minds that they are not even sure, like, if I engage so closely, am I going to be looking like them or something? What is worse that can happen to me? So you also understand that this can happen because lack of awareness. So I feel the first and very important step will go back to what I mentioned before, having these churches organize for more awareness forums, where the persons and the congregation can learn and get as much information as possible about all the disabilities. If it is somebody with maybe mental or developmental, maybe they have autism, and sometimes they can be very hyper and going maybe catching other people and maybe not handling the rest very well. Then if you are aware and you know, oh, so this is just somebody who is autistic and possibly they're having this episode, so it is still fine to just be close to them, try to hold them. If they're going to pull your hair, how do you tell them in a very gentle way to stop this? How do you control all those things without also getting agitated or retaliating? So I feel awareness is really an important part of all this whole story. And so for that reason, more churches need to put maybe more effort in that aspect, so that as the leadership, and it starts from the leadership, even leadership have some people who are still afraid and very unsure of how to handle these congregates with disabilities. So I feel the awareness is something that everybody should try to put more effort for. Get more professional who can just at least help you to understand a thing or two, so that as you engage, then you're doing the right thing.
And now we have these people who, they don't fear, but they tend to pity a lot these people concerning disabilities. They treat them with so much sympathy. What about them now? Because you've told us here we're supposed to be equal, both of us, because God created us to be equal, like to look like his image. So how about those people?
Yeah. Thank you. So for people who are kind of really pitying and feeling so sorry that you have this disability, I think it still gets back to the same thing of awareness. Because you see, for instance, if somebody is maybe using crutches, and then they come here and in the midst of trying to open a door, then maybe they flip and fall down, and you're quick to come and pick them up, pick the crutches and hold the door. But maybe this person is in a space where I am training to learn how to overcome this. I'm just trying to learn how to get a door by myself, how to get myself up when I'm down. But then you're all there trying to hold everywhere. So sometimes they'll be like, I wish you could let me be. I know you're really feeling so sorry for me, but that's not exactly what I want. And you meet somebody and they tell you, oh, this person is, I became blind or I became deaf at this age, and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. But they're wondering, why are you even sorry? Because I'm living my life, I'm able to do my things, I'm a professional, I enjoy. But then in your mind, you're like, oh, so sorry that you have a disability. So I feel, again, it still gets back to the awareness that people should just get more information, including the etiquette. How do you behave around such people without making their situation worse?
And you told us you back then that you were raised by a parent who had a disability, and you told us that you faced a lot of challenges. So how did you kindly explain to us how you overcame those challenges? That is when you were young and when you were growing up now.
I'm not sure if I overcame the challenges. Maybe we just pulled through the challenges, because I mean, I was much younger, so and I didn't also know how to self-advocate. And back then, my caregiver could only do so much because she was also limited. So, which I understood. But for me, I think just witnessing from time to time and sometimes even the exclusion starts at the family level, and then you realize that this happens everywhere. You go to the hospital and everybody's name will be called, and then you're left there, people come after you, and then because there are not really systems that are going to favor you, you find yourself maybe somebody's on the wrong side of the law, and how the whole process is going to be taken. They're very innocent, but then they end up being really punished for a mistake that it's not really there just because of the disability. So for me, I would say first I thank God that we just pulled through that experiences, but then there's a beautiful part, because if I didn't go through all the experiences of discrimination and all the attitudes, then I don't think today we'd be having ICS or even talking about this championing for inclusion. Yeah.
And as we conclude now, I'd like to ask you, do you think maybe there are specific roles that people with disabilities are supposed to be given in churches, ama they qualify to be given any role in the church just like any other person who doesn't have a disability?
Yeah, thank you. So when it comes to roles and assignment, not only in church but even in corporate and even in the family unit, these roles, there are no specific things that should be reserved. This is for persons with disability, this is for people without disability, because then that brings the discrimination again. The only reason why this can be even a question today is because people have brought barriers and the spaces are not accessible. So people are generally, if you give a person with disability a duty to do, but then you're not creating a reasonable accommodation, they are all barriers. You give this person maybe a task, but then the physical space is not allowing them to access with their wheelchair or with their crutches. The doors are very small, the doorways are small. So then you are not creating an environment that is going to enable them to achieve this task. But then if we are able to create an environment that is disability friendly, that is supporting their specific needs of disability, then the person with disability can do virtually everything and anything, because they can preach, they can do counseling, they can do everything that any other person can do, including in the corporate spaces. When it comes to technology, even in the media space like here, there are people who can handle these cameras, who can be anchors, just that we don't create a space for them. If you create a space and we remove all the barriers, then there's nothing that this is the much they should do, this is the much they should not do. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And now I want to get to give you this chance so that you can maybe talk to someone there who is at home who had a different perspective towards people with disabilities. Like, how do you now start that journey of knowing that people with disabilities are also people, we need to embrace them, and we need to also give them spaces in where maybe we are working or in churches now?
So to the people out there, I think my message would be this inclusion of person with disability is not reserved for specific people. It's not only reserved for me, but then you can also play a part in your own small way. For instance, I'm sorry we didn't get to discuss this, but ICS is planning the annual Deaf Bible Challenge, which is coming up in 2 days' time on Saturday. This will be the 4th time we're doing the Deaf Bible Challenge, and when you come to the Deaf Bible Challenge at PCA Umoja on this Saturday 30th, then you'll find a team of deaf judges who are the panel, deaf MCs who are running the event, deaf coordinators, everything, they do it their way. And this we normally do to usher in the International Deaf Awareness Month, which has been in September all the time. So probably you are in this space and you're wondering, what can I do in this space? First of all, I want to extend a very special invitation to each and every one of you on Saturday at Umoja PCA. Please consider joining us. That will just be one way of getting to engage and to learn what else or how else you can be part. But again, in your family, in your workspace, in your church, kindly just when you're intentional and you really want to learn what you can do, then there are lots of opportunities for you. There are lots of information out there, and we at ICS will be very happy to partner with you to help bring this inclusion home.
Thank you very much, and it was nice to have you here, Winnie. And maybe you can give maybe your number to maybe someone who's out there who wants to even reach out, not only to the awareness camps that you guys have. Maybe she might be having or he might be having a question that he or she wants to ask you.
Okay. So should you want to contact us for any reason, then the phone number is 0720 205434. 0720 205434.
Natumai sasa mtazamaji umeweza kuelewa mengi yanayohusiana na kueneza injili kwa wale watu ambao ni walemavu. Tusiwatenge, they're still people like us and they deserve to be treated with respect. Tumeambiwa don't pity them too much. Treat them with respect instead of being so much having so much pity on them. Na natumai sasa umeweza kuelewa mengi ambayo yanahusiana na kueneza injili kwa wale watu ambao ni walemavu. Na sasa tunachukua mapumziko mafupi, lakini usiende mbali, maana tunarejea na mgeni mwingine ambaye tutakuwa tunazungumza naye about the biblical view concerning adoption. Tutakuwa tunazungumza naye, atakuwa tunarejea baada ya muda usiokuwa mrefu. Kwa hivyo usiende mbali na usisahau pia kuzungumza